Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okie dokie, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple guys hanging out, drinking on some whiskey, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Tonight's episode 32. The big game was last Sunday. So for tonight, we're going to be doing our normal Name That Stadium, hitting the news from this past week, and then we'll spend probably a good chunk of time talking about the Super Bowl. And like always, we'll close things off with our question of the week. So with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's good, man. It's good. I'm excited to get this thing moving, man. So why don't we jump in to Name That Stadium? So for anybody who's watching, basically, there's no games this week, but James, the frequent traveler that he is still getting around, and basically every week he's putting a different stadium in his background. If you think you know what stadium it is, pop your answer in the comments section, and if you get it right, you get a special shout out in next week's show. For this past week, James, you were out at Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aside from the obvious, did you have any particular inspiration for going in that direction?
Well, I think it was my first one I duplicated because I think I did it with the Kansas City Tampa Bay game earlier in the season. Was that like week 12 or 11 or whatever? But it was just because of the Super Bowl. You got to pick that one.
Yeah, good logical connection, you know? I mean, I think that was it's a historic thing, you know, first time ever, right? That a Super Bowl team was playing in their home stadium. So, you know, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and Rams fans are pissed because Brady won it because they're figuring next year that they're going to play in their home stadium and wanted Stafford to be the first quarterback to win the Super Bowl in his home
Oh,
stadium.
gotcha. Yeah, well, F that stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. Okay, well, hey, that's cool. So moving on to just kind of a recap of this past week. You know, there's been, you know, a fair amount of stuff happening in the NFL aside from the Super Bowl. You know, we're getting to that time of year where teams are going to have to start making moves to get their cap straight. And you know, the big one that came out today is the Texans are releasing or have already released. I'm not sure how fast the situation moved, but J.J. Watt is gone. You know, my opinion, it was a bit of a stunner. I would have thought that they could have traded him, even if it was just like a, you know, kind of just not a great trade. At least you get something for him. But, you know, it deteriorated quickly, and we saw it at the end of the year. It really wasn't even the end of the year. It was like halfway through the season. He was expressing serious frustration. And either way, he's out of there. You know, maybe his contract was prohibitive for a trade, especially with the upcoming, you know, COVID discount on the cap. But you know, what are you hearing, and what do you think, man?
Well, first I saw like I was just looking at it and they did release him today. So he can sign basically I guess whenever.
Yeah,
But
and
as as far as his contract, I didn't think it was too prohibitive. Like I thought for some reason I was thinking yeah, his I mean it would have only been 18 million. He had 1 year left and it was 17 and a half million left on his contract. So I don't know why they didn't try to trade him besides the
yeah,
fact that he requested his release. So they granted it,
they just played
which
nice. But I mean,
yeah.
I, you know, I'm just blown away. You know, like I look at all these teams with an abundance of cap space for next year, you know, and I mean, right off the bat, you know, a couple of them don't make sense, but you got to at least think about it as you got the Jags sitting at 77 million. You got the Colts sitting at 69 million. I know they're in the division, so you probably don't want to make that move, but then you got the Jets sitting at 68 million with a new defensive head coach. I'm sure he'd love a guy like Watt to come in and help boost his defense right out of the gate. And and going down, you got the Patriots sitting at 62 million and change. Uh, you know, I'm sure they would love a shot to get a piece of him and have him basically bring some respect back to that defense because it was atrocious last year. And you go down from there, you got teams, it drops off significantly. Washington sitting at 40 million. They don't need a guy like Watt. But, like just those top kind of guys there, you'd think somebody should have had interest. And, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I'm just surprised that they weren't more patient with it and tried to get a little something in return for him, because he's a big name guy, man, and I'm sure he still has at least a couple seasons left in the tank. I know injuries have been a concern, but he played really well this past year.
Yeah, I thought he did. Like in the past, injuries have been a concern, but one thing I'm reading a lot about is I've seen pop up a lot is the Rams being in on that. I mean, that would
So
be
yeah, that would
fucking
be
sweet defense,
with
but
him and yeah, with him and Aaron Donald. But the thing is, and I read an article earlier on NFL.com, and they might have been on there. I know that they were talking about the Packers and the Steelers, and because the Watt and Watt connection, and then I even heard the Browns were a team. But the thing is, like the article I read, like basically all the teams are already like grossly over the cap, and so I kind of was like, it's pipe dreams, like these are teams that already have to make some hard decisions just to get within the cap, and then you'd have to like cut even deeper to be able to bring in a guy like Watt because I'm sure somebody's going to pay him, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm looking at the Rams right now. They're sitting at about 27 million over the cap.
mhm.
If they could make some moves, would Watt come in on a discount thinking that it's a Super Bowl contender? Maybe. I mean, he was that frustrated with Houston, but it's it'd have to be a big discount, and they'd still have to make some tough moves to squeeze him in.
Yeah. One team that I've seen that would be interesting that has the cap space is they have 30 30 million. A little bit less than 30 million is Baltimore.
Oh yeah, I heard about that as well. They were one that was on the list actually that I read about, which I actually thought, wow, that one could work. Um, and that would be sweet having him and his brother in the same division. I mean, that would just be like add a little bit of fuel to that fire, man. It'd be good football, but
Hmm.
and Baltimore's a great team. You got him on the same line as Calais Campbell and what's his face Williams or whatever. And I mean, it'd just be you know the rich getting richer in Baltimore, man. And I'm blown away that they've got that much cap space. I thought it was closer to 20 million, but either way, I mean that's still a lot for a team that is like consistently in the top tier of the NFL.
Yeah, well, one of the things with them like is with them their highest paid player, their biggest cap hit is Ronnie Ronnie Stanley. So
Okay.
it's like they have Lamar on still on his
Oh
rookie
yeah, still
deal
on a
and
yep.
stuff. And it's like, but you're right. All the other teams that I'm seeing or I'm reading about for possible landing spots, there's no way in hell because they have no space. They're 20 plus million over, except for obviously New England. I haven't looked at the Browns cap space yet because or Pittsburgh's way over. I think Tennessee's another one I heard
Yeah.
about that they're way over. Let me see who's
Y-
the Browns.
Yeah,
I think the
and
Browns might have room.
yeah, the Browns, I'm looking at over the cap right now, and it looks like the Browns, they're projecting to have about 20 million, 21 million and change. So they could do it, and that would be sweet if you went to Cleveland. I think that would, help get them over the hump potentially, on that defense because their defense was good this past year, but it needed depth. And you bring in a guy like him, just that leadership and everything. I mean, that could be, and then you got Miles Garrett on the other side of the line. I mean, shit, that'd be intense. But um, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The Dolphins, 28 million, man. They're a team we talked about a lot this past year. I could see him buying into the Flores, culture and being a part of that. But you know, it's
Hmm,
interesting. It's interesting.
that's an interesting one. So you have So I'm looking at Sport Track,
Yeah, I'm
Spot
sure
Rack,
I'm sure they've all
whatever.
got a slightly different number here. And I know that some of these numbers are already changing with some of the moves that are making, but yeah, I'm showing over the cap has got like the Jags at 77, the Colts at 69, the Jets at 68 almost. And yeah, I would bet that I bet that Spotrac probably has a little bit of a different figure too, based on how they're coming up with their numbers. And so these guys are saying they're projecting a base salary for next year, salary cap at 180 and a half. And so maybe Spotrac's using a different figure for theirs.
They're using 185, so not too much different.
Yeah, I mean it account for about 5 million in difference, but yeah.
Yeah, but like the Browns, they have the Browns at cap space of 20, almost 30 million.
Yeah, so we're talking about a 8 9 million difference. So yeah, so you take five from the difference in their cap, and then there's another five in there somewhere that the way over the cap is doing it versus them is a little bit different. But hey, either way, I mean it'll be interesting. I mean I love JJ Watt. I'd love the Lions to go after him, but we're not in a position to be doing that this year. So but
Yeah,
talking.
there's no way he would. There's no way he would come here anyways. I
Well, no,
mean,
no, no, that's true. Yeah, it's a free agent. He wants something attractive. And yeah, I'm just, I'm always looking at, oh, hey, I'd love to get this guy. But yeah, no, it's not real. Uh, and yeah, if it was a trade situation, he might not have had a choice. But, it's not. He's going to be free. So, okay, talking about the Lions, you may have heard Matthew Stafford had a big interview this past week. And, you know, it depended on who you talked to and how they interpreted what he said. Some of them were kind of like, oh, he was leaving town, trying to keep the door open so that things will be good with the team in the future and he can come back. And, he's like a Lions record holder in all these ways. And so once he retires, the team's going to want to have him back for special events and this and that. And he tried not to burn the bridge. But then there's other people that are fuming because he made comments about, he just wanted to be, and I'm just like paraphrasing. I don't quote any of this, but making comments about how he wanted to take his shot and how he always felt like he could perform well in a big game, and kind of like he just didn't get that chance in Detroit. And I don't know, man. Some of what I heard is just like, you look at his record against playoff teams, and I don't have the stat in front of me, but I know it's piss poor. You look at his record against, like teams like Green Bay. There was a couple years where at the end of the season, all we had to do was beat them, and our playoff situation is either we're in the playoffs, or I think one of the years it was like we beat them and we win the division, and we couldn't get it done. And I know not all that's on him, but uh, you know, I mean, dude, there was one year we lost to the Packers with a backup quarterback, and I heard him talking on the radio about this, like looking at some of the stats, and he has had some good stats, like in his couple of playoff games, the stats were decent. But when you look at his big games mid-season, whether it was a primetime game or whether it was a game at the end of the year where some playoff hopes were on the line, and his performance was sketchy, and so. You know, I I mean, hey, it's tough, man. I'm hoping for the best for this guy. I think it was a good deal for both sides. And I think honestly, it was probably a lose-lose for him to do an interview, to be honest, because there's always going to be somebody that's upset about anything he's going to say. And especially when you look at his time in Detroit, he wasn't really a vocal kind of guy. He wasn't like this like big vocal leader for the team anyhow. And so I think some people were a little bit upset, like, why even do an interview, man? Just like leave and be done and let's move on and be over with it. But, I don't know. What do you think, man?
I didn't catch the interview. I knew he had whatchamacallit, talked or did the interview, but I didn't really catch it. I think it was time. I think he, you know, the Lions honestly should have traded him last year.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for Quinn and Patricia trying to
Desperation mode.
throw everything they could possibly at the team to try to save their damn jobs, they should have gotten rid of him last year and traded him last year pre-draft, drafted either Herbert or Tua, and just started the rebuild then. But because Patricia was trying to save his damn job, which shouldn't have.
It's frustrating. I know.
They basically set the team back like another year because you could have a quarterback developing. I mean, look at Herbert in fucking L.A. with the Chargers. Ridiculously
Yeah.
he's looked ridiculously good for a rookie. I mean, Tua, I have reservations about Tua, but in all, I think he'll be an adequate quarterback. I think he'll be really good, but there's some things that give me pause with his game, like
Yeah.
throwing it downfield and getting it on target, stuff like that. But I think he's going to be a phenomenal, good to great quarterback in the league once he gets a little bit further out from his injury that he had really just over a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got time. He's young. He's got to dial it in, and we'll see if he gets there. But yeah, it's yeah. I agree with you 100% on all that, man. So, other quarterback news, we knew obviously teams were talking about making a move for Carson Wentz, and whether or not Philly's going to do it, who the heck knows. But this week, there's been some interesting chatter about Russell Wilson and teams making calls on him. And I thought I heard originally that the team basically said, there's no way in heck they're going to move Russell Wilson. Why would they? But then I also heard later in the week that there is a rift with him and basically the front office. And, he's made public comments about, getting offensive linemen, going after receivers like Antonio Brown, doing different things, and they've not done it. And it sounds like he's becoming, more and more assertive about his displeasure with the way that they're handling the personnel decisions. And I know that he just recently publicly said he wants to be more involved in that. And it sounds like they're not really doing that with him, which I get it. It's a slippery slope when you open that up to a player. But when you've got like a generational talent like him, it seems like you would want to do that and keep him happy. But I basically I heard because of all this, the phones are still ringing. Teams are still calling, kind of saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're not going to make a move here? Because it sounds like he's not happy, and we're kind of hearing you're not happy either." And so, I think it kind of goes in that Deshaun Watson category where it's like it'd be crazy to trade the guy, but man, uh, if it doesn't come around quickly here, they could be heading for disaster, man.
All right, so Wilson, he went on I believe it was the Dan Patrick show. And there's a couple things because I heard bits and pieces of the interview and I heard people talking about it all week. So apparently after every interview or at the end of every interview, like he says he finishes it with like "Go Hawks," and he didn't on the Dan Patrick show.
Okay.
He did. He was asked directly by Patrick, so direct questions, and he tried to skate around him, and then Dan Patrick's like, "Well, you didn't answer my question. That's a long-winded way to avoid answering the question. Let me ask it a different way." And then he said it, and then I'm hearing that Seattle is fucking pissed that he's aired the dirty laundry and aired the dirty laundry publicly and didn't go to them. But the thing about it is there's always been something there with
Yeah.
Seattle and Wilson. Like he tries, their negotiations for the contract for extensions and stuff. It drags out. He's just. I'm gonna say this. I think if not this year, next like within the next 365 400 days, Russell Wilson will be on a new team.
Ooh, bold prediction. I like it.
He's if like hypothetically if they trade him after June 1st this year, it's a $13 million dead cap hit. And
Yeah.
it's so I mean it's basically $13 million over if they trade him over the next 3 years.
Hmm.
Dead cap hit.
Yeah. So
If
yeah, if it was a 13 hit, and I think he's like due to get like 35 as his cap number. I mean, they're saving a
it's
significant
32.
amount. Yeah, so they're saving a significant amount, but you're losing a guy that you may never be able to get again. It's like, geez, it's such a crazy thought, but we're
Yeah,
living in crazy times in the NFL, man. There's a lot of shit going on.
and one of the things I've heard a lot is Dallas is kind of going after him hard
Oh, dude, that'd be nuts if he went to
because
Dallas. I'd have to
because
be a
I
Dallas fan.
I've heard that McCarthy loved him coming out of college, and but McCarthy was in Green Bay, and Green Bay had
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, and they weren't willing to draft Aaron Rodgers' replacement. What was it, 9 years ago?
yeah.
So I mean, which makes sense. I'm not saying they should have, but it's just I hear McCarthy absolutely loves him.
What's not to love, man? What's not to love?
Oh, I know. He's a great quarterback, and everything Seattle's done, um, basically is because of him. He carried that team this year. How many times did we talk about how the defense was a joke
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
that offense they have no running game, and Russ he was just lighting it up and carrying that team. They get rid of him unless they get a like like trade him straight up for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, and maybe you have a fair deal, but that's about it. That's the only way you're going to get a relatively comparable item back for him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and here's the thing, like their running game actually was pretty good. They just had a lot of guys get banged up this year. And
Hmm.
um, and I think that they had intended on airing the ball out more, which was a good thing to do. It's just like we saw with Dallas early on in the year. If all you do is pass, you're kind of doing a disservice to your defense. And, it basically means you're just planning on playing every game in a shootout. And it just, they had a good year. It could have been better, I think.
Oh yeah, it could have been a lot better, but I mean that defense, that the running game, like their offense coordinator who got fired wasn't cutting it, wasn't being creative enough up there, and they were just relying on too much on Wilson with no protection for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. The next thing here, I'm putting it in here now, and then we'll do something happier. But uh, you know, last week we talked about Marty Schottenheimer went into hospice. He ended up passing away this week. It was pretty quick. Obviously, our thoughts, go out to his family. It's unfortunate stuff. It's the sad part about life, man. But he had a great run in the NFL, and that's why we're talking about him. And so we wish his family the best, and but just had to pay a little bit of respects there.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, for everything I hear about him, he was just a great person, and like I mean, I if you asked me 20 years ago when he was still coaching how old he was, I would have said he was 75. So
Yeah, just one of those guys that was like forever old, but he really wasn't old. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it was like, but it's still it's sad to hear. I mean, he, he was one of those coaches that always seemed to have like that bad luck in the playoffs. Like a
yeah.
couple years ago, was it 12-11 when they intercepted Brady late in the fourth quarter, which would have clinched the game. But then but the guy that intercepted the ball didn't go down, and he fumbled it, and the,
Oh,
fumbled it back to the Patriots, and or like the drive with Elway when he was in Cleveland, stuff like that. It's just always some to be a little snake bit.
yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, hey, tough stuff, but he's in a better place now.
Yeah.
So the next thing that I had noted was the Pouncey brothers have retired from the NFL, and that was, I think, a cool story for as long as they've been in the league. It's not like they've been in the league forever, but like 10, 11 years each, something like that. And it's just one of those unique things. You got two brothers, both really good offensive linemen, had a good run, and they just decided to bow out at the same time. And yeah, I think I'm trying to think the guy for the Chargers. I want to say I'd have to look at the game logs, but I think he was injured a lot this past year. And so, how much are they going to miss him if he wasn't playing? I don't know. But the other Pouncey in Pittsburgh, I know, he's had some injuries over his career, but, when healthy, he was definitely, a solid part of that offensive line in Pittsburgh. And so, they're definitely going to miss him there and have to make something happen.
Yeah, they will miss him there. I think though that might actually help the team a little bit because he's probably higher up there on for for salary as long as he's been in the league, and the Steelers have a lot of need to do a lot of working on their cap, so that might help them.
Yeah, yeah, it takes away some of their hard decisions. They got an easy one that they can, okay, he did it for us. Yeah, I agree. Um,
Yeah, and Mike, I just looked it up. He played five games this year.
yeah, I knew it was down a little bit, but that's the life of the NFL, man. It's you're gonna get hurt eventually. It's rare that the guys make it through and never have anything happen.
Yeah.
Um, well,
So
that's all I had for this past week, unless there's anything hanging out there that I missed that you want to touch on before we move on here.
um, not that I not that I can think of. For Marquise, I just his he has a dead cap hit of almost 7 million now for Pittsburgh. I wonder what his salary was.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could probably try and look that up real quick too. Well, if unless they already took him out. Let's see.
See, so he saw nine in 2019 he signed a 2-year, um, 22 million contract, and with a 9 million signing bonus.
Okay.
So not too bad. So yeah, he it just has the like prorated. I'm sorry, 3 year, not 2 year. Um,
Gotcha.
so he has the prorated signing bonus and a restructuring bonus for his dead cap hit,
Yeah.
which isn't bad. I mean, they save what like uh, 5 million on it.
Yeah. I wasn't doing the math there, but yeah, I'll trust that your math is better. Okay. So
Oh no, it'd
moving
be
on.
11 million. What the fuck? Because the bonuses like the 6 million or the 6 point the dead cap hit was signing bonus or whatever, but it was just whatever his salary was. So if it was the average, it'd be 11 million or so.
Gotcha. All right, so um, let's move on, man. Let's talk about the. Oh, here I'm looking at it right now. He ends up having a cap hit in retirement, a dead cap hit of 6.5 million. So sorry, it took me a minute to pull it up because my computer was going slow.
Oh no, it's okay. I was surprised it was like already pulled. Like, didn't he just?
Yeah, it just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw the article about it, hadn't had time to like really look at it. So,
Well, Spotrack's on top of their shit, man. I'm gonna have to stop looking it over the cap. Okay, so moving on here. Let's do a little bit of a Super Bowl recap. Big game, Super Bowl 55, and I am guessing for the vast majority of people out there, this game did not go the way anybody expected. Pretty much most of the people I talked to, they thought Kansas City was going to win this game, no problem. And I originally thought Kansas City was going to win, and then as the week went on and I updated my model, it ended up flipping, and I had Tampa Bay winning, and it was by a slight margin. And Tampa Bay like just handedly won that game, and so there's a lot of stuff we can talk about. Um, I would just say from a high level, uh, Brady was super consistent. He didn't try forcing the ball. He didn't make any bad decisions, which obviously you would expect out of Brady. He's a super savvy, super smart quarterback. Their running game, I know Fournette got all the attention, but Ronald Jones averaged over 5 yards a carry as well. Those guys were just hammering the ball. And then the defense was just freaking lights out, man. And they just totally stifled the Chiefs. Uh, we were texting before the game or whatever, and I was predicting that there would be a missed kick based off of that one stat we had heard. But man, it didn't look like there was like even just the tiniest bit of wind in that game. And so, either way, that was just kind of the high level deal. I know some people were dogging Kelsey because he had some drops, but when you looked at it, some of those drops weren't really. I don't know if I would call them drops, man. Like there was a couple of them where he was like covered pretty darn well, and one of them, I think he had probably one bad drop, but that was it. And so I don't know, man. What did you think about that game?
so I thought the game kind of went on the Chiefs side how I expected it. I actually like my biggest bet of the week was I I bet on the Chiefs to score between 8 and 14 points in the game.
Yeah,
Um, and that's what I said last week too when we talked about it. I didn't think Kansas City would score as much. I'm sorry, Tampa Bay would score as much as they did. I mean, if you look, you mentioned Kelsey and his drops. He had 15 targets, 10 receptions. That's pretty good. Like, I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty much average. I mean, the biggest problem I saw was with Kansas City was those plays where Mahomes does something phenomenal like the Superman and then throw it like 60 yards and it bounced off the face mask.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it would have been. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead. Sorry.
so it was like, but it was just like all those plays, but you could tell like I had read some stat that Mahomes in on pressures ran some 460 yards trying to avoid pressure in the game.
Well, yeah, and honestly, that's like the big thing that I wanted to point out, and I don't think we talked about this last week when I was going through my model, but like the one flag for me, and it was so hard, and we talked about the offensive lineman being out, but I didn't look at the actual ratings and how that affected things. But it had Tampa Bay's defensive line rated as an 83 average. It had Kansas City's offensive line rated as a 71 average. That is huge disparity. And they were without both of their top tackles. And then, we got to remember they had, what's his name, Duvernay Tardif, or however he opted out earlier in the year. And so, it was a bare bones line. But Eric Fisher getting hurt in that championship game definitely stung. Uh, and you could just see it all day long. JPP was getting pressure. Sue was getting pressure. I mean, these guys were all over Mahomes, man. He was having to move fast and throw the ball a lot quicker than I think he anticipated, and uh, and that threw things off kilter. And I think with that, he actually played pretty good football. I know he had that one pick where it kind of like bounced off and whatever. And I don't like holding those picks against a quarterback, but I would say for the most part he played smart football. The defense was just all over him.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the reason why I said the Chiefs would score so little. It was because of the fact that I could see the Tampa Bay defense, which has just been getting better and better from week to week.
Yeah.
I could see them having a field day. I thought Mahomes would cover it up a little bit. I mean, and they would actually score a touchdown. And that's why I said last week, I think I said they would score 14 points in the game. It's just because I thought Mahomes. I still think he's just that good. I think it was a combination of the offensive line and his turf toe was kind of ailing him a little bit. So he wasn't.
Yeah.
I noticed he wasn't running as much as he usually does. Like when he gets pressure. Like I mean he only had 5 carries.
And you could see a little gimp in his run too. He wasn't
Yeah,
running fluidly. He was moving pretty well, pretty quick, but it definitely wasn't the same. That's for sure.
exactly. And I thought Bowles coached a phenomenal game and had a phenomenal game plan for shutting down this offense. Just continue to get the pressure and make
Yeah.
him think. And they weren't. It's not like they were blitzing to get the pressure. It was a regular 4-man, 5-man rush that they were running. I don't remember like in watching the game. I don't remember saying, oh, they're blitzing or they're bringing heat. It was just the front four, maybe a linebacker
Yeah,
here and there, but
I
nothing
know they had
big.
Shaq Barrett blitz a few times, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Sue was getting pressure, JPP was getting pressure. Yeah, I mean, it just like these guys were just having a field day on that offensive line, man. I mean, it just and you could see it in Sue. He was on a freaking mission, man. And
Hmm.
hey, that's cool. It's another one of these like defected Detroit Lions, but he had a great game, and but I really like JPP's game. He had like a pass batted down, and I mean he was all over Mahomes, getting a ton of pressure. JPP, he was lighting it up, man. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
then
he didn't even. Wow, I didn't realize that. Like, as much pressure as JPP was getting, I thought he had a sack, and I was just looking at the stats, and he didn't even hit the quarterback.
yeah, it was like aggravation. He was like constantly getting through, making him move. And I know he tipped at least one ball, but he was just like all over, man. He was getting his arms up, he was like getting through, and it was just disruptive. But yeah, it's like one of those things where it's hard to look at the stats sometimes for defensive linemen, like you got to watch the game to kind of see, yeah, that guy, he was a factor. And
Oh no,
yeah,
I know that. I was like I swear like he had to have had a sack or he had to have hit Mahomes. So I was like, yeah, I'll just look at it because like Sue he had 1.5 sacks and
yep.
two on top. Other than that, he had 2 QE hits. It, or total, so that might include the 1.5 sacks. I'm not sure how they do
Yeah,
these stats,
how they come up with it, yeah.
but but it's like I just I swear I thought JPP at least had to have hit Mahomes, but he didn't. Hmm.
I'm sure he got his hands on him a few times, but it was Mahomes is pretty elusive. But here, like I'll say this, I got to give my Central Michigan brethren some love, and Antonio Brown caught a TD. That was good for him. That's nice, man. Only 22 yards, but hey, that's okay. You scored. You didn't need to do much more than that. And man, I was really hoping for Sean Murphy Bunting to get another pick and finish the playoffs with a pick in every game. It didn't happen in this one, but he did have a pass deflection in the end zone. And so I'd say, hey, that's pretty damn good, man. He had one heck of a playoff run.
Yeah, he had a great playoffs. And I like the funny thing about Brown that I didn't realize that he had 5 receptions for 22 yards.
Yep.
But if you look at how Tampa Bay's offense ran, it was basically the new guys. It was Gronkowski. It was Fournette.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Brown. I mean, that were getting Fournette got the bulk of the carries, and all the receptions were those three people. I mean, heck, Evans had 1 target and 1 reception. Godwin
Yeah.
had 2 receptions on 4 targets. It's like he wasn't really looking at him. His top 2 targets was Gronk and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, it was that new crew, man. Well, I mean, him and Gronk, they just got the connection. And that was
Yeah,
just freaking, dude, I love seeing Gronk score twice in that game. I was going crazy, man. But then, yeah, you're right. Fournette, I mean, dude, Fournette even had 4 catches for 46 yards. And so it's like, on top of what he did on the ground, yeah, he was a factor in the receiving game. And, yeah, their homegrown talent, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like I'm looking at the two of them, 3 catches for 40 yards between the two of them.
yeah,
Quiet for them. But honestly, I'm sure they're freaking thrilled with it because they got a freaking ring, man.
exactly. And the funny thing I heard today, because LaShawn McCoy retired, and the last 2 Super Bowls, LaShawn McCoy's been on the winning team. Didn't play it down in either game, but he has 2 Super Bowl
Uh,
rings.
it's tough, man. I thought about that, like, you know, I'm sure in years past, just like dreaming. Obviously, I'm not in the NFL, never will be, but, it's just like if you're one of those guys on the bench and you get a ring, do you feel like you didn't deserve it, or do you feel like, well, hey, man, I was still a part of this team. I still helped everybody in preparing. I still helped in practice. I still did my part somehow. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's like, everybody chips in. And so I think that you would still be thrilled no matter what. But, as a player, super competitive, I'm sure you want to be the guy that's like got the freaking 2 TD Gronk day and be like, yeah, I was the freaking man, but everybody's different, man.
Yeah, like looking at his stats this year. I mean, he that can't be right. 10 rushes for for 31 yards.
I think he was pumped up in the off season, and then once the season started, it faded away fast because they brought in Fournette, and Ronald Jones was rocking it, and so they had everything they needed, and they had that rookie too, Keyshawn Vaughn or however you say his name. It just was a crowded backfield for a while, and then it just kind of sifted out that it was Jones and Fournette. It was really Jones most of the way, and then Fournette kind of just took off in the playoffs. But they made it work, man. They handled that dynamic really well.
Well, for Jones, wasn't Jones hurt like week
He got hurt.
17, 16? Like he was
Yeah,
hurt late, and
he
did
got
he
hurt
miss
like
the first playoff game?
I think he missed the first playoff game, the wild card game. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, he had almost 1,000 yards in the regular season, and then he got hurt, and Fournette came in and kind of just like took it from there. And they got Jones back involved, but Fournette ended up being the guy for the bulk of the playoff run.
Yeah. No, I mean you got to go with the hot hand. Like Fournette was Fournette had, uh, from what I recall, like he had a great playoff.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he was the hot hand. You got to go with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago that both those guys were running angry, man. And I love seeing that stuff. And yeah, especially in the playoffs. It's like that's when you want to leave everything on the field, man. Run them over, wear them down, do everything you can, make them pay. It's going to help your team as that game goes on. And it did. And so yeah, like I'm just kind of looking at some of the Kansas City stats. I mean, really, it's tough. They basically just threw the ball the whole time. And we talk about this. You got to have some complementary football. You know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire only had 9 carries, but he had good stats, 64 yards for 7.1 average. Uh, you know, Mahomes had 5 rushes for 33 yards, but you want your backs getting involved. And if I'm a coach, and I'm not, they're smarter than me. They know this stuff more than I do, but I would have had a guy just pounding the rock for at least a big part of the first half because you're going into that game down guys on your offensive line. You want to send in the freaking sledgehammer and hurt some guys a little bit like Sue and JPP. I'm not saying like hurt them in a bad way. I'm saying like hurt them, slow them down. And as the game goes on, it's going to make it harder for them to get pressure so that when you do got to open it up in the passing game, Mahomes is going to have more time. And maybe some of it was game script, who knows? But that obviously wasn't in their plans. And, I guess when you have a guy like Mahomes, it's just like, well, fuck, just let him pass every goddamn play anyhow. I don't know. So, but it's just tough, man. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, I thought, you know, it kind of went like the split was a little bit more skewed, but I mean, then again, they were down a lot. So,
Yeah.
but like if you look at their season of what 1,050 plays, they had 403 rush attempts to 630 passing attempts.
Yeah. 60-40. I mean, that's not bad in today's NFL.
No, that's passing attempts. That's not even including sacks because they had 54 sacks.
Gotcha.
So that's yeah. Sorry, it was so they dropped back to pass 654 times of 1,057. That's what like 70% almost 65, a
60,
little bit over
60
65.
something. Yeah. Yeah, it's not horrible, man. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you got Mahomes, and so that's what you do. And not only you have Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got Hill, you got all this talent. I just, I don't know. I guess I kind of thought with, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell, and I know they got Darrell Williams also. He was getting involved in some of these games, not so much in this game, but I guess I was expecting them to do a little bit more on the ground just to kind of keep it even and maybe control the tempo a little bit. And
Yeah,
it just didn't happen, man. It didn't happen at all.
yeah.
So
The game plan was a little bit lacking. Like I thought, I I don't know what I expected from Kansas City, but like I said, I kind of expected the offense or Andy Reid to make the adjustment to kind of chip on the line to cover up for the backup tackles playing.
yeah,
But and then another good point is who was the guy? I can't remember which one started, but which one was it? Was it was Newski? Was he the one? Or no, it was Remmers. Yeah, I think it was Remmers. And then like, what was that like 2000 when Denver won the Super Bowl with Peyton. Anyways, I believe he was the one that was trying to block Von Miller, who was the MVP of that Super Bowl.
okay, yeah.
So I mean, he's kind of
Known that he can be exposed. Yeah.
yeah, which is what which I didn't hear that going into the game. Otherwise, I would have been more forceful on my picks. But But yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, just kind of looking at the team by team stats, some of them are actually pretty close. Total yards, Kansas City had 350, Tampa Bay had 340. You know, I mean, passing yards, it's showing Kansas City had 50 more passing yards than Tampa Bay. Rushing yards, it was the opposite. Tampa Bay had about 45, 40 more. And so it's like overall, the stats were very similar, but it's how they got there. And the Tampa Bay defense put their offense in a great position in that game. And Brady, I mean, they had a couple three and outs, and that was fine because it was like, hey, no panic. You're not going to score on every drive. And it's just like that with Brady, man. He just is like cool as a cucumber. Just like, oh, hey, three and out, no big deal. We'll punt. Next time it'll be better. We're going to figure this thing out as the game goes on. In this game, they just consistently got better and started scoring and just never looked back. And Kansas City just never made those adjustments. They couldn't get around the defense, and all they got was those three field goals, man. And I think that's a huge story of the game is that everybody's like, holy shit, you got Mahomes and this super electric offense, and you didn't even get a touchdown. I get it. It sucks, but you got to give a lot of credit to Tampa Bay, man.
yeah, they just Tampa Bay just let them up. No, I mean, perfect storm of play calling and the injury to Mahomes. I mean, it was the perfect game plan.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, to shut that offense down, basically, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then hey, post game, I heard the story. Brady throwing the Lombardi from one boat to another, and everybody like, oh my God, what's he doing? Come on, it's Brady, dude. He's football god, man. I mean, that's
Yeah,
he'll do what he wants. Do what he wants.
yeah. Plus, he has what, six of them. So,
He's got seven,
well,
seven.
no, he had six at home. So who cares if you lose that one?
Yeah, yeah. He's got too many. He needs to get rid of one. He's running out of freaking space to put him. Yeah. No, it's incredible, man. He's got more freaking Super Bowls than any single franchise in the league. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right.
Who would have thought when he was drafted in the sixth round that
Oh yeah,
this is what you would
199
get?
or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Nobody thought any of this. All right. So what else you got on the Super Bowl?
Excuse me. Whiskey went down the wrong pipe. So
Oh, gotcha. So I got to stall. I got to like,
mm.
I got to do something. Oh, you
All
ready?
right.
Okay.
I think that's all I got on the Super Bowl. It's just I spanked you on the picks for the playoffs,
Oh,
just like
thanks
you
for
spanked
bringing that up. Thanks
just
for
like you
bringing that
spanked
up, pal. Yeah.
spanked me in the regular season, which I did choose my bottle of whiskey, which was the Redemption 9-year barrel proof, which I got sitting downstairs. I haven't cracked it open yet. I'll let you know how it is when I open it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, hey, it was a pleasure betting with you. I think it was a win-win. I got
Yes.
one, you got one. It's good stuff. And I've not had that redemption, so yeah, definitely let me know how it is. That's one of the wild turkey ones, isn't it?
I think it is.
I'm
I'm not.
almost certain that that's is I don't know if that's I don't think that's the McConaughey one. His was like Long Branch or something. Now I gotta look it up. Now I gotta look it up. Oh, nope, nope, nope. I had it wrong. MGP. MGP. Those are the guys out of Indiana that were
Yeah.
private, basically private barreling stuff for years. Uh, that's no, they got a lot of good shit, man. A lot of good shit. So I'm interested to see how that one is for sure. Okay, so all set there. Moving on here. Let's get to our question of the week. So for this one, hey, it's the season's over. We're already starting to see some of the activity with teams. J.J. Watt getting released today. this is going to be a very interesting offseason because we know the salary cap is going to be coming down in 2021 because of COVID, and teams are going to have to make some tough decisions, which means there's going to be some big name players that are surprise either trades or cuts. And I thought about this, James. It seems to me like at some point we should be hearing about the league and the NFLPA trying to amend the CBA to give teams like a 1 year, like relief on the cap. And I know that they've had discussions about it last year, and I don't remember how all that ended, but if it goes the way that it's going right now, there's going to be a lot of veteran players that are good but not great that end up taking a hit on this, and they're going to be the ones that get hurt the most because the younger guys on those lower contracts, it's easier to keep them on the team. If you got a guy who's a veteran, maybe his contract's a little bit bloated, oh, easy target. He's gone. And teams are going to have to just be picking them apart this year. And so I got to believe the NFLPA is going to be pissed. There's going to be some grievances. Maybe they find a way to kind of rework it, and so it's not as bad. But all that being said, what I'm coming down to for the question of the week is that I want you to give me one big name player or bigger name player. Doesn't have to be like a freaking all-star, but a non-quarterback that's either going to be traded or cut in surprise fashion. And I know that there's some names floating around out there. I kind of said non-quarterback on this because we know guys like Wentz and whoever else, Derek Carr, and some guys they're likely candidates to be talked about for things. Even Roethlisberger. I mean, he's got like a 41 million cap number, and it's like a 22 million or something dead hit if they let him go. These are things that I think in the quarterback market, we already covered it with our carousel a couple weeks ago. It's just anything can happen this year. And so I'm looking for non-quarterback names that are bigger names that they could be a surprise cut or a surprise trade as a team tries to clear some space. I got some names. If you want to take a shot here going first, I'll give you mine. I basically just pulled a few of them. I went through the over the cap, and I looked at the teams that are the most over the cap, like New Orleans, 70 something million over the cap. And then I pulled up their individual cap situation and I tried to look at the likely targets. Some of these teams, I got to tell you, man, I'm really not even sure what they're going to be doing because just bad contracts. You're talking about guys where the dead cap hit is going to be just as much as if they just kept them on the roster. And when that happens, what are you going to do, dude? You're going to be cutting like way more people than you thought. And so, so I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to throw a name out there, or you want me to start it off?
Well, my name that I'm going to throw out there is it's a team that's actually not over the cap. I don't think he's worked out with this team. Like I think in fact, I mentioned it earlier in the season that their offense looked better without him than it did with him.
Okay.
And it would be a 15, almost $16 million savings, no dead cap hit if they traded him or released him. But that player would be Odell.
Oh yeah, Odell Beckham, man. Yeah. No, you're right. I gotta believe they're looking at making a move on him. He has not panned out, and I think we saw it. It's a run first team. They can go out and they can get in, and it's supposed to be a wide receiver rich draft. Go out and make your moves. You got guys there. You got what's his name, Peoples Jones, and you got I mean, obviously they got Jarvis Landry, but they got some stuff going on, and they've got tight ends. I mean, like they've got a whole lot of options in Cleveland that you don't need a bloated contract on a wide receiver, especially one that's just not like clicked in that offense. And it's a good point. It doesn't have to just be a team that's fighting to get within the cap. That's kind of just like one of the angles I was looking at. Every team is going to be looking at this trying to make space because they either want to be active in free agency and be efficient, or they want to, They want to have room for trades or whatever the case may be. The COVID thing is just one factor, and the teams over the cap are just one factor. But no, I like that name. You got any other ones, or you want me to take a crack at it?
Oh, you can take a crack at it. I have other ones that aren't really
Sure.
any cap savings, but
Yeah,
it's
but they look like they got to go. It's just, if they're not going to save anything, what are they going to do? Well, here's one that, I think is a bigger name thing, and we've not talked about it in a while, but it was out there in the news earlier. Is that I would say Zach Ertz in Philadelphia. Uh, if they keep him, he counts 12.5 million against the cap. If they let him go, it's a 7.8 dead hit. We're talking close to 5 million in savings. That cap hit hurts, but when you're 45 million over the cap and you kind of made it clear to the world that Dallas Goedert's your guy, especially if Wentz gets traded. I mean, it's just like I got to believe Ertz is out of there, and they're going to take that 5 million in savings because it's going to be one of a combination of moves that they need to pull off to get under that cap.
yeah. Well, there's a couple like if they could hold off to trading Ertz after June 1st, it would be even more savings. His dead cap hit would be before pre June 1st. It would be 7 million, almost 8 million dead cap hit for $4.7 million savings. But if they traded him after June 1st, it would be $8.2 million savings.
Okay.
I think that's I don't know.
Yeah, how all that jives or how it comes together, but yeah, I mean, you're getting
Yeah,
the info. Yep.
yeah. Another one for Philly. Like the thing I'm looking at with Philly is if they cut like players they cut, like there's a couple like here and there that they would have substantial savings. Like if they cut Derek Barnett,
Yep.
like it'd be like a $10 million savings if they cut him before June 1st. If they cut him after June 1st, it would be the same. So there's no dead cap hit for him. Um, I'm not recognizing the name if I'm being honest. It's not clicking who he is.
Oh yeah, no, he's one of their defensive guys, and you
Yeah,
know,
he's an edge rusher.
yeah,
So I
he's
mean
he's definitely I'm sure he's definitely on the list, man. Um,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So here I got another one. And the Saints are obviously going to be making a number of moves. They're sitting at 74 million over the cap. This is a defensive guy, so it doesn't always get some of the same kind of publicity, but I know who he is. I'm sure you know who he is. Quan Alexander.
Hmm.
They traded for him from the 49ers midway through the season. The results were not horrible. It's just that the team is desperately in need of getting cap space, and he was not a stud by any means. And so when that's the case, they're going to be looking. He's got a 13.5 million cap hit for 21, and since they traded for him, there's no dead cap hit. I mean, when you're 74 million over, you got to take that 13.5 million, man. I mean, it just is what it is. So,
Yeah, it is what it is. Him and uh, Lattimore are the only two players that would have if they cut him would have no cut them would have no dead cap hit. I'm
yeah.
just glancing, and if they were to trade Ramchek, he would have no pre June 1st and post. He would
Yeah,
have
I think the Saints are going to have a hard time making it happen, man. I mean,
no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If they cut him, he'd have no dead cap hit. So those three: Ramchek, Alexander, and Lattimore um would be no real dead cap hits. And somehow I didn't really understand it how Breeze restructured his contract to like the
yeah,
veteran minimum to like I didn't fully understand it, but somehow that saved
Yeah, they had their
all this money.
yeah, they had their trick for giving him more signing bonus or something to lower the cap number, and yeah, it was a creative GM move to pull off. And then if he retires, whatever happens, or I don't know. It just I it's one thing of many that these guys are going to have to do, man. They're so over the cap, it's insane.
Yeah, and there's my question is if he retires, will it be the $23 million dead cap hit?
That's a good question. I would guess no. I would guess that there's more to it than that, where they were able to kind of, like whether it's through the signing bonus or something. But I don't know because, like we saw with Pouncey, that number went down to the bottom of the spreadsheet under their dead cap section. And so if that's the case, it does lock in 22 and a half in dead cap, man.
Yeah, so I mean are, are they better if he comes back? Better off if he comes back?
they, they might be. They might be. If he's willing to. If he's willing to. Yeah, I'm looking at theirs, dude. I mean, honestly, it's going to be tough. It's going to be so tough for them to make all those moves. I mean, you're talking a lot of freaking people are going to have to restructure or say goodbye. And a lot of these people, it's it's really not even attractive, man. I mean, like I'm looking at Malcolm Jenkins. His dead cap hit is more than his freaking cap number. You can't cut him, you
Mm-hmm.
know. You got a guy like, okay, here, Malcolm Brown. You can save about 5 million on him. Okay, that's great, but you're 70 something over. So I mean, okay, he's going to be one of like 10 guys that you're going to have to either cut or do something aggressive with to make it happen. I mean, it's just like it's going to be tough, dude. It's going to be tough. I'm interested to see how they pull it off because this is going to be one of those ones where it's like any aspiring GM or active GM that just wants to like learn some tricks, watch what the Saints do because you got to have like every tool in the freaking kit to make this happen.
Yeah, but I mean their cap is fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Big time. All right, so
Like I
here.
mean they're gonna have to do like a lot of fucking restructuring.
Yeah. So I've got two more. The first one here I think is highly unlikely. It's going to be more one of these scenarios. How can they work a little bit of magic and restructure him to get the number down? But it's Joe Hayden in Pittsburgh. He's got a 15.5 million hit. If they cut him, it's 3 million in dead cap. So hypothetically, they could cut him and save 12.5 million, which is pretty significant when you look at Pittsburgh being over. But I think he falls into that category where he's freaking good enough that you're going to try hard to hang on to him. He's not one of those guys that's just good. He's one of those guys that's more in that great category where when he's on the field, he's a difference maker. And so, I don't know. Would he be willing to take a cut to stay? Probably not, but you never know. Sometimes you just got to ask. But would he be willing to restructure to make it more friendly? Probably. I mean, this is a team that they had a good run this past year. Unless the wheels look like they're going to fall off, why not play ball and make it work, man? And so then the next guy I got, this one pains me. It freaking pains me to even throw his name out there. But it's Eric Fisher with the Chiefs. These guys, they're 23 million over. And, the Super Bowl showed that they need this guy to just give Mahomes that little bit of extra time. But he's got a $15 million cap hit. If they cut him, it's a $3 million dead cap hit. They could save 12 million. I just think it's going to be too tempting for them to pass up when they're that far off on the cap. Uh, if they do it, I would, most definitely expect to see them draft an offensive lineman early on and maybe go and get a couple guys in free agency at a bargain price, hoping one of them turns into be some kind of like a jewel. But, you know, I don't like throwing my Central Michigan guys out there like that. It's just this one could be too tempting for them.
Yeah. So with man, that's a rough one. Like, because you'd have to time whatever you decide to do with him, um, because like for instance, if they were to cut him pre June 1st, it'd be 6 million in savings. If they were to cut him, I don't know, never mind. It was Hitchens that was changing, which is right above him on salary. So
Gotcha.
that's what was throwing me. It was anyways. So yeah, but I mean that's a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, you could cut your problem in half. You know, you're 23 million over. If you can shave 12, you know, it's one move, but you got to go out and get a left tackle, and they're not easy to find. So, you know, either you're going to, you know, get lucky and land a stud in the first round or the second round, or you're going to go out and you're going to get a guy in free agency. And if you're going to get a guy in free agency, you're going to have to pay him a lot of money to come in and be your left tackle. So, you know, at that point, you're probably better keeping Eric Fisher and looking elsewhere. It's just that they have tough decisions to make. Where else can you look and what can you do? Now, 23 million over is not the end of the world, and they can restructure some guys as well to get more friendly deals. It's just from my quick scan of things, that one stuck out as a potential hit. And you know, he's not like some big name guy, so maybe he doesn't fall into this category as much. But he's a big name guy to me. So you know, Central
Yeah.
Michigan, Chippewa. Okay. Anybody
So
else? What are you
so
thinking?
while I was glancing at the cap numbers and stuff, I figured out why the Texans just cut J.J. Watt.
Okay.
Because I figured out two things. First of all, the reason why they just cut J.J. Watt instead of trying to hold on to him and trade him is because by cutting him, they fixed their cap situation.
Okay.
So now they went from 13 million over to 4 million under. Just
Yeah,
with that one
that's a big
transaction.
swing. Yep, that's a big swing. And you know, they're gonna get a high compensatory pick, right? I mean,
No, because he's not a free agent. They cut him, so they won't get a compensatory pick for it.
oh, well shit. Well then, yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I would have found a way to trade him. I don't know. That just seems like bad business to me. Seems like there's a lot of bad shit going on down in Houston.
Well, yeah, they got a new fucking GM and that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and that organization is fucked. The president that was there for 20 years resigned suddenly.
Yeah.
It's
It shows you there's a lot of dysfunction going on. Yeah.
yeah. So, but the reason why happened to be looking at Houston's was because I was thinking about Brandon Cooks and what he has, you know, a $12 million cap hit this coming year. I think it's there's no dead money because he was traded for like he he was like traded and then traded and then traded and traded. So like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. So they could save 12 million, man. That's
right.
if they
But
wanted to, but if they're in the zone now, you know, how much more do they want to do? And would you get rid of Cooks and risk pissing off Watson even more?
so here's the thing I'm hearing out of Houston. They had their new coach, who was the passing game coordinator in Baltimore. They have a new GM, and he's pretty
I'm just
much their
looking at this right. Yeah, go ahead.
number two receiver down there, and he nobody, not one person, has even picked up the phone to call him.
It's piss poor, man. It's piss poor.
Yes, it's it's ridiculous. Like why? Like pick up the phone, call,
It
introduce yourself, and you're
here
the new coach.
here's what
Um,
it is. Here's what it is. They're seriously thinking about trading him, and they don't want to call him and risk tipping their hand and him going public with it and possibly swinging some of the power out of their court.
Possibly,
I mean,
but
otherwise, there's no reason for it unless you're just a freaking idiot. And maybe they are just freaking idiots. That shit just blows my mind, man. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. The other thing that do you contrast that to what's his name? The guy that was hired by the Chargers, Staley, the new coach
Oh,
for the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chargers.
The defensive coordinator from the Rams. Yeah, Brandon Staley. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, is basically every single person on the team within within a week of him being hired got a phone call from Staley. Introduce yourself, new coach. This is my number. Blah blah blah. Whatever. On the other turn, you're like second best number one, number two receiver. Nobody's reached out to him.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Just stupid. Just stupid, man. I
It's
mean,
just it
yeah,
is.
yeah. I mean, they're just, yeah,
So
they're like lion-esque, like with
yeah.
just the poor choices that they're making.
So I had also and I forgot to mention this when we talked about Stafford a little bit. I
Yeah.
had heard about I had actually heard or read what supposedly Carolina offered the Lions
Okay.
for Stafford. And I'd said it was their I had heard it was their first round pick this year plus.
Okay.
So apparently the Lions turned down Bridgewater, the number 8 overall pick, and a fifth round pick.
Hmm. I'm okay with that because Goff is
Yeah,
better than Bridgewater, and
exactly.
and I think those future first rounders are going to be more important because this is a hard year for the draft, man. With like the limited, footage that you got on these players, I wouldn't want to be like soaking up a bunch of draft picks this year and using them. I like honestly, if I'm the Lions, I would take my draft picks for this year and trade them back and get better draft picks next year and make that the year that you're swinging for the fences because now you've got all this time, you've cleared your cap, you've fixed so many things, and then you've got like just like a freaking treasure trove of draft picks. I'm good with that, man. I'm good that they passed on the Carolina thing and went with the Rams instead.
Yeah, so I was gonna look to see, like I'm just curious hypothetically. That still has. So I have to go to the Rams because they still have Stafford listed as the quarterback for the Lions and over the cap.
Gotcha. They got to do an update. Well, here, while you're looking that up, I'll just tell
So yeah, so
anybody.
his
Oh, go ahead.
Jared, so Goff, it'd be 16. It's a $16 million difference between Goff and Bridgewater on the cap.
Yeah, yeah, we know Goff has a big number, but that's okay, man. We're going to see what he can do this year. And if it's no good, we move on. We know that this year is basically a wash year anyhow. So,
Yeah,
you know,
and
and who
I
and
had
who knows, man? These coaches might inspire some people, and maybe they play their asses off and they actually do decent, and then it's just like an upward trajectory from there because then we'll have the picks, then we'll have better cap power. I mean, it'll be good after this year.
yeah, and I had another two other players that that I think are going to be. One of them's a free agent that won't be re-signed by his team, and another one is offensive lineman that's probably going to be on the move this year.
Okay, hit me up, man.
So first, they both because I found the perfect scenario and the perfect spot for this trade to happen. So Brown Jr., the
Oh yeah, I heard about
left
that.
tackle
Yeah.
with Baltimore, I'm hearing he's pretty pissed
Well,
because they
he's
want him.
he's yeah, I think normally he's a guard, right? And he moved to tackle because Stanley got hurt, and now he's saying he wants to be a left tackle somewhere in the league.
Yeah. So, and he's still on his rookie deal. And as we know in the Super Bowl, tackle is pretty damn important. And
Yeah.
I think he played pretty well when while they were when he was playing a tackle. So it'll probably be a first round pick. So it's first second round pick. I mean it's a high price for it, but the team that needs a left tackle is Carolina.
Hmm.
Greg Little played like shit this year.
Yeah, they're not gonna give up the number 8 though for him. I don't see it happening, man.
Right, but possibly a second round or maybe even a future first rounder or
I'd be
something.
yeah, I'd be all for doing something like that because I think when you trade for him, the expectation is you're gonna basically sign him to an extended deal, and so he gets more money now, and it becomes like a longer term contract now. Um, I just think the number 8 pick is too valuable,
Oh,
especially because he's got limited time at left tackle. It's like, if number 8, you could get a left tackle in this draft and probably a guy that, like, from a scouting perspective, maybe has a higher ceiling. It's just, you're rolling the dice, I guess, but
yeah.
you're kind of rolling the
Well,
dice with him. So,
I mean, with Carolina though, them having the number 8 pick, I mean, the number 40 pick is basically a first round pick.
yeah, I'd be fine giving that up. I'm good with giving up a second round pick for a proven guy, I mean, you got to
Yeah.
pay him, but I'd be all for that. Yeah.
So so I looked it up and I found the top 5 left tackles like the top 5 salaries for left tackles in the league is 18. The average is 18.7 million a year.
I'm not going to give him that much.
Right? No. I'm not saying give him that much, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is based on that, I don't think Carolina and their cap issues. I don't think Carolina can go out and sign a left tackle to
Oh,
replace
gotcha.
Leto.
Gotcha.
So they would
Yeah.
have to do something like because he's still on his rookie deal. His cap hits less than $1 million. It doesn't really affect their cap, and
It's
they're
it's
good.
yeah, it's like, hey, we're trading for you. Play well, and you're going to get a big deal. But
Exactly.
we're going to make you ride out your contract. So that it's a prove it deal. And if
Yeah.
and if you prove it, you're getting paid big. Is basically what it
Exactly.
is. Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
those things they do happen. Yeah, it could work.
So the other thing I looked at, and I didn't realize this, but Mike Davis is a free agent this year.
Uh, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with him, man? I mean, you got McCaffrey, so
You
and
you
if
have
your cap is
McCaffrey.
messed up, then
I mean they have about 11 million, 11 to 17. It depends on which site you look at
yeah,
and whatever. Somewhere between about 11 to 17 million of cap space. So yeah, they could theoretically re-sign him. Based on how he played, he's going to want more than I think his contract in his 2020 salary was 3 million.
yeah. I was going to say, I bet he's going to want at least 4 or more. No, and the assumption is that he's going to go back to more of a backup role. But he's going to have like a little bit of a role because of how well he played. Just, what is that role? 5 carries, 10 carries, or 5 touches, 10 touches. Like even that's probably a lot if McCaffrey's healthy. But because of the fact McCaffrey got hurt, he's thinking, hey, you better pay me.
Yeah, exactly. So, and an interesting situation there, and maybe if and that's where I keep hearing, oh, they're going to go hard after Watson. They're going to go hard after Watson.
Yeah.
They don't have the room for him
Yeah, they'd have to make some moves to pull it off, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they literally would have to trade, put McCaffrey in on the deal, or
yeah,
put McCaffrey and Bridgewater in on the deal.
yep, yep.
But like, because with Bridgewater, they don't save. If they trade him, if they trade Bridgewater, they don't save shit.
No, I think that's the problem with all these like blockbuster things. They're so much harder to pull off than anybody thinks. And yeah, I don't know. That's it. They're just hard. They're hard to pull off, man.
Yeah. If they trade McCaffrey and Bridgewater for
Watson.
Watson, I mean, they still would have to do something to fit him in there,
Yeah.
like, because I just looked it up. They would save 12 million on Bridgewater, but they would have an extra almost 5 million for
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. So what, 7 million? So that's 19 million, and Watson's cap number is 24 this year.
I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, it would be, it'd be a struggle. And then you're talking about, I'm sure Houston's wanting some picks to go with it.
Yeah, so it's 19 and no, that's Rapunzel. It's 15 and 5. It's 10 million. I was close.
Okay.
And so it's split up as like 5.5 of his cap hit is his prorated bonus, which would not transfer over with that. It's next year that he has, or 2022. Yeah, it's 2022 that he has his extension kicks in. He has a $35 million cap hit in
Gotcha.
2022.
Okay. So did you have one more to point out, or was the
No,
other
that
one the Carolina trade thing,
Yeah,
or
it was Davis.
okay.
Like, he
Oh,
wasn't he
gotcha, gotcha.
technically it's not a cut or a trade, but
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
it's do you
it'll
let the
be,
guy go? Yeah.
do you let the guy go, or, and I think they have to. I think they have
Oh,
too many
I'd let
pieces
him.
that are
Yeah.
needed.
I'd let him go. I hate to say it, but running backs are like a dime a dozen now in the NFL, and
Yeah.
and you have McCaffrey. I mean, that's the bottom line is you're locked in with McCaffrey. You can't pay a backup a lot of money. So, it's tough, but somebody will give him a shot.
Yeah, somebody will. I think he has a chance to be a pretty good running back. I mean, he did well in Carolina. He gets on the right team. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe put him, maybe
Send him to
maybe
the
go
Jets.
to Miami, or,
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of need a running back, even though, what's his face?
They, they had a,
Not Britt.
yeah,
They had that.
they had a few of them kind of pop up at different points in the year.
Yeah, but I mean, that's you would have to. They
Yeah, they
would
got
have to.
Breida, however you say his
Rita,
name.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, so here, let me wrap up this segment. So for anybody who's watching, we just had a lengthy question of the week. We probably spent more time on this than the Super Bowl recap, but hey, whatever, man. It's our show. We can do what we want. But anyhow, the question of the week once again was, who do you think, uh, a big name player, non-quarterback, is likely to be a surprise trade or cap casualty this year, knowing that it's going to be such a crazy tumultuous offseason because of the COVID cap situation and whatnot. We'd like to get your thoughts. Pop them in the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking. And James, what are you looking up, man? What else you got to hit on here for our wrap
Oh
up?
no, I just figured out the difference between Spotrac and Over the Cap.
Okay.
So Spotrac it has the top 51 and it's cuts off at the top 51, and Over the Cap counts all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the difference between the two is.
Cool, cool. All right, so here's the thing. Super Bowl's over. We're kind of going into the great unknown here until we get like free agent primetime action and then the draft and whatever else. So we need to come up with a freaking agenda for next week, man. So get the wheels turning. Hit me up this weekend. Let's come up with a topic to talk about, and hopefully we'll have at least a couple days to do a little bit of brainstorming and have something exciting to talk about. But we'll keep doing our thing. We'll keep doing Name That Stadium. We'll keep covering just like a recap of the news for the week. But let's start picking some topics. What are we thinking? Like free agency matchmaking. I mean, it might be a little bit early for that, but uh, you know, there's a lot of just kind of endless possibilities of what we can be coming up here to talk about next. So you let me know what you're thinking, dude.
All right, sounds good. I'll come up with something. I just had a crazy week where I just couldn't even think. Like I was able to spend a little bit time today to do a little bit of research on these players, but I
Yeah.
just how it is sometimes.
Oh, hey, it's all good, man. I think we hit it pretty well, even though some of it was on the fly. We're good at kind of cutting to the chase with some of this stuff. So I'm cool. All right. Well, hey, anybody who's still watching, we hope you liked the show. If you did, give us that thumbs up. Shoot us some, comments. Let us know what you're thinking. And if you really liked us, hit the subscribe button. James, as always, it was fun, man. I'll catch up with you later.
All right, sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.